Okay, hello everybody. So this is 14.5 video 2. Okay, so we talk about the difference of squares. Now let's start talking about sum of squares. Sum of squares. Okay, sum of squares will be a square plus b square, and guess what? This is not factorable. You cannot factor sum of squares. Okay. And I'm going to add it over the real numbers. Because a squared plus b squared actually can be factored in a complex number system, but here we only deal with real numbers. So a squared plus b squared, when you have a sum of two perfect squares, we cannot factor that. So make sure that we're paying attention to that. Let's do an example. Let's review what we did in the previous video. Factoring binomials. In A, we have t squared plus 144. Okay, so here, this is the same as t squared plus 12 to a second power. So here you should recognize that you have sum of two squares. Since you have a sum of squares, we can't factor. So that's it. That's our solution. We're going to leave it that way. There's nothing else what we can do with this at this moment. B, you're going to have almost the same expression, but you have t squared minus 144. So again, that can be rewrite as t squared minus 12 to a second power. So here you have a difference of squares. And we learned that formula, a squared minus b squared, difference of squares is the same as a minus b times a plus b. Okay, so in our case, a is the square root of your first expression, which is just t, and the b, to figure out what is b, take the square root of 12 squared, which is 144, and you're of course getting 12. So to factor t squared minus 12, that's just t minus 12 times t plus 12. So that's the difference, okay? Make sure that when you have a difference of squares, you can factor that using the formula. When you have a sum of square, we can't factor. Okay, let's do a little more of factoring. So I will just call example C. Factor completely. Factor completely, and we have y to the third power minus 5y squared minus 4y plus 20. Okay, so how are we going to factor? Okay, since, let's write note, since you have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 expressions. And when you have even amount of expressions, factor by grouping. That's what's going to work. Factor by grouping. Okay, so that was in 14.1, previous section. So let's review how to factor by grouping. First, what you're going to do, so again, first add parentheses. Okay, so the first two together and the last two together. So I'm going to rewrite that with parenthesis. Y to the third power minus 5y squared. Again, we're not changing anything, we're just adding parenthesis and putting plus, because to make sure that you see that we don't have the product. Okay, this is plus parenthesis negative 4y plus 20. Okay, you can always add parentheses. That won't change anything in your original equation. When we have that, next, second, factor GCF, greatest common factor from each group, which means from each parenthesis. Okay, so we have y to the third power minus 5y squared. Okay, GCF here is y squared, the variable which repeats to the lowest exponent. Okay, so y cubed minus 5y squared, we factoring that GCF, which is y squared, and that will give us y minus 5. And again, I'm reviewing work. The way I teach you, take the first expression, y to the third, and divide that by the GCF, which is y squared, and that will give you y, and that y goes inside of the parenthesis. Then take the second expression, which is negative 5y squared, divide by GCF, which is y squared, and we end up with negative 5. That's why that negative 5 is right here. Okay, and we're going to do exactly the same thing with the second group. So you have negative 4y plus 20. We're going to factor out the GCF. Okay, negative 4y plus 20. That was plus 20, right? Plus 20. Okay, so GCF will be negative 4y plus 20. Okay, the GCF will be 4. Negative 4. Let's pick negative 4, and you will see in a second why. GCF will be negative 4. I pick, it can be positive 4 or negative 4. I'm going to pick negative 4 because the idea is when you factor the GCF that you will end up in the parenthesis with the same expression which we got from the previous group, which is y minus 5. That's what I'm hoping to get in a, here also. That's why we're going to factor out negative 4, which is our GCF. Okay, so we're going to take that negative 4, and negative 4y divided by negative 4 will give you y, and 20 divided by negative 4 will give you negative 5. And again, you can always check, distribute, and make sure that you're going to get the expression which you see on the left side. So we're going to save that. Have to factor completely. So next what we're going to do, we're going to rewrite using GCFs and factors. Okay, so we had that y to the third power minus 5y squared minus 4y plus 20. We're going to rewrite that using our GCF and factors. Okay, so we're going to rewrite that as y squared right here times y minus 5 plus negative 4 y minus 5. And now, since we have the same group which repeats, y minus 5, so you're going to factor y minus 5. So next, factor repeating parenthesis. Don't forget that we have to factor completely. That means we need to rewrite original expression as a product of factors. So y minus 5 repeats. So here, that y minus 5 is already here, so the leftovers you're putting in the parentheses. So you will end up with y squared. The same thing here, y minus 5 I already factor, which is right here. So the leftover, which is negative 4, will go inside of the parenthesis. Okay, and that's it. That's the final answer. We factor completely. This is the solution. Okay, it could be, okay, not yet, sorry. I forgot that I teach you the difference of squares. So we did factor, but we didn't factor completely. So one extra step, y squared minus 4 is a difference of squares. And by now you know how to factor this difference of squares. Y squared minus 4, it's the same as y squared minus 2 to a second power. Okay? So a it's equal y, b it's equal 2, and you're going to rewrite that as a minus b times a plus b, which in our case will be y minus 2 times y plus 2. Now we're going to put all of it together. So the solution is y minus 5 right here, y minus 5 times, and y squared minus 2 squared, you're going to rewrite as y minus 2 times y plus 2. Y plus 2. This is our final answer. Now we factor completely. Okay, so this is the solution. Okay. Next, on the next video, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to talk about factoring perfect square trinomials, which is still section 14.5, and I will upload video 3. Okay, thank you so much for watching.